Okay, so today is Wednesday, December 6th, 2023. This is, of course, the Stronghold Digital Mining Daily Update. We're going to be taking a very close look at a couple of different things. Let me start with something that I know some are wondering about, right? So yesterday, I believe it was after market hours, we saw several filings from Stronghold Digital Mining. The most perhaps question-raising of those filings was a S3 pertaining to a prospectus for about 2.8 million shares, which would essentially comprise the following. About 2.1 million Class A common stock shares that are issuable upon the conversion of shares of Series D convertible preferred stock, and about just under 700,000 of Class A common stock held by the selling stockholders. So all of these shares that we're discussing pertain, to keep it simple, to a selling stockholder, which is, I think, best described as an entity that is separate, right, or different than Stronghold Digital Mining. Now, I think it's understandable that a question may arise like, hey, so, well, who's the selling stockholder? I don't know that I need to read this verbatim from the filing. I'm looking at this right now on page 11 of the S3. This has information with regard to, what's kind of going on here, and very specifically, it kind of gets into like the specific name of the, for lack of a better description, the I guess like the hedge fund that is, I guess wants to have some optionality around the potential sale of their shares. So, look I'm not surprised by this, because I do read like everything, just about everything. I mean, there's very few things that I haven't read probably more than once, which is kind of scary in a way. Like I'm like what is my life, right? But if we were to go back to the Q3 2023 10Q on what appears to be page 24, we do see here that there are approximately 4.4 million shares in the aggregate, that, again, some of the verbiage is very convoluted. I'll just read this verbatim. Following the Series D exchange transaction as defined herein on November 13th, 2023, as described in Note 21, subsequent events, the potentially dilutive impact of Series C preferred stock and Series D preferred stock not yet exchanged for shares of Class A common stock totaled roughly 4.4 million shares. When you go to Zyner.com and you look on the bottom left-hand corner, in fact, I'll go ahead and pull that up right now, you'll see that there's a market cap section of the dashboard. And right now, the market cap is listed as being $77.49 million. That is like a fully diluted market cap. And what I mean by that is the number of shares that are being multiplied by the stock price to arrive at that market cap is close to 15 million. And so you have to realize, right, that doesn't necessarily reflect what you might see if you were to go to a website, like a Google Finance, a Yahoo Finance, and you look at the number of shares outstanding. It'll typically just talk about whatever the most recent public filing, right, might have in terms of specifically Class A shares. My computation is much more comprehensive, And it's much more, I believe, in line with reality, right? Because at the end of the day, I think at least it's important to understand this company's valuation based on like a fully diluted share count, right? I don't need a make-believe number from my perspective. Not that any of the numbers that you see are make-believe, they're real as of the time that the numbers are being reported. But if we are to look like ahead and say, hey, what potentially could be the fully like diluted share count if a lot of different things were to happen, you get a different number. I prefer to just dwell in the world of what that ultimate number might be versus what the number might happen to be at the moment. So fully diluted, a $77.49 million market cap is ridiculous. From my perspective, okay, in my opinion, it's a very, very, very inexpensive market cap that I don't believe truly reflects, including the debt that the company has. I don't believe this reflects a real world market value for shares of Stronghold Digital Mining. So that is a very somewhat technical and long-winded way of saying that the filings which were made yesterday don't faze me. I'm not surprised by them. I would be more surprised if all of a sudden there were something being reported that would potentially increase, right, that fully diluted count, say beyond roughly 15 million to something else, right? That would be surprising in the context of, oh, okay, hey, this is a new piece of data that I need to now assimilate into the dashboard insofar as, computing the market cap. I do not follow other companies in the publicly traded Bitcoin mining ecosystem, so I cannot say this with a high degree of authenticity or authority, but I have seen quite a bit of complaining, if that's perhaps the way to describe it, from shareholders of several other fairly prominent publicly traded Bitcoin mining companies who, in the words of the complainers, and I'm sort of paraphrasing here, is that they simply dilute. I don't know if that's accurate or how correct of a statement that is, but it does appear as if, though, dilution has been an alternative that some publicly traded Bitcoin mining companies have chosen to pursue insofar as generating capital to either buy Bitcoin mining machines or to expand their data centers or, whatever the case may be. In the case of Stronghold Digital Mining, when the company restructured practically every major piece of its debt, right, beginning in roughly the middle part of last year through the very beginning of 2023, part of that debt had to be equitized, right? And that was a necessity in the context of attempting to survive a very vicious crypto winter, which, depending who you sort of talk to, we are perhaps beginning to finally get out of. So while I appreciate that dilution has been a concern, and I also appreciate how in the minds of some, hey, even one share of dilution is a terrible thing, I hear you. But in the context of what we are seeing insofar as this filing that was released yesterday, December 5th, 2023, by Stronghold Digital Mining, I do not see this as changing my fully diluted market capitalization computation on the dashboard. In other words, I don't see this as being fresh dilution. I see this as being the sort of like, how do I want to say this? I see this as being the fulfillment of the dilution which is already baked into the numbers, if that makes sense, right? So if I've got some preferred stock, hey, I'm going to convert it into Class A stock. Okay, I'm doing that. Now the potential exists that I may sell it or I may not sell it. But the point is, at least this prospectus has been put out there. And so to the extent the seller, right, wants to sell their shares, they can do so. So that's that. Gosh, did I just take up like 20 minutes talking about? It's like 10 minutes. Gosh, sorry about that. But I just wanted to clarify that because inevitably the question then comes up, oh my God, is Stronghold Digital Mining selling like upwards of 3 million shares? And to the extent they're doing that, why are they doing that? And like, what's going on? So again, hey, look I'm looking at the filings just as you can look at them. To the extent that I've got this all wrong, please let me know, because I ultimately care about whatsoever things are true. Okay. I don't care about being right. And I don't care if I'm wrong. I care that I'm wrong, right? Or care that I'm right in the sense that, hey, I want to try to get to the truth. That's what I'm really trying to say. Okay, I want to be wrong. Like, hey, man, if you see I'm making a glaring error, please let me know, because then I'll look at the data again and make corrections as necessary. So, what about what's going on just generally in the Bitcoin market? I have seen hash prices pretty much in the roughly 9 cent territory. I even saw at one point, I believe late yesterday, like 10 cent hash prices, which really that's really, really good. That's really, really good from an operational perspective. To the extent we can figure out what needs to be figured out so that maybe even as early as next Tuesday, December 12th, 2023, when the company hosts its investor/analyst day at the NASDAQ market site, maybe we can hear that yes, Stronghold Digital Mining, right, has achieved plugged in operational, Bitcoin mining hash rate capacity of 4 exahash. I know that's been something that has been a little bit of a question. It's like, well, I mean, we have the equipment for 4 exahash, but evidently, not all of it's been plugged in. It's a little bit confusing, and I did mention this in a previous broadcast, where it's like, okay, well, if we've got this stuff, I mean, do we need volunteers to help, connect all this stuff? Like, what's going on? Like, we really want to get this stuff plugged in. I mean, everybody wants to get it plugged in. There's no doubt in my mind about that, right? But I think there's just other considerations at play here. But I do anticipate that certainly by year end, at the very latest, I would like to believe that if we have 4 exahash in total of Bitcoin mining equipment on site, that we can figure out a way to get that plugged in, right? Because at this point, I think we've had all this stuff since maybe late August, right? Or something like that. Or maybe, I would have to double check. There's so many, again, the blessing of doing a lot of reading is that, okay, you're familiar with a lot of stuff. The downside is there's just so much information that, sometimes dates and times can begin to blur a little bit. So with all of that said, our stock price took a break today, which in some ways I'm kind of slightly grateful for. I want this rally to be sustainable. I want this rally to be real. I want this rally to be healthy. And I don't know that a healthy, sustainable, real rally consists of a stock price that does nothing but go up 20% every single day into infinity. I've never seen a rally that acts that way end well. Now, amongst those of you who are traders and you're like, hey, man, I don't give a crap about the future. I want to get in and get out and make a point or two. Okay, well, hey, congratulations if you made a point or two over the past, a couple of days here. But for the rest of us who do not want to settle for crumbs, but are instead interested in having the whole cake, rest assured that based on what I'm looking at, and you're welcome to look at this and fact check it yourself. This is not investment advice, but if you look at some of the operational data, insofar as hash prices, insofar as grid prices, right? Because remember, there's always going to be about 35 megawatts between Scrubgrass and Panther Creek that will get sold to the grid, absent, of course, there being some situation going on where The plant is not perhaps operating at full capacity or full load, so to speak. But these numbers, the operational numbers, look phenomenal. They really do. So, okay, that was somewhat technical. Hopefully not too technical. But I think it's important that we, if you've watched these broadcasts for any length of time, you know that I lean heavily towards a lot of technical stuff, and I kind of almost prefer talking about like operations and maintenance issues, and just kind of getting into the more like nuts and bolts of this. But needless to say, the stock price and what's going on with the price of Bitcoin is really, really important to me, to you, to all of us who are co-owners of this business, shareholders of this business, people who want to see this business do well. Almost $44,000 a coin Bitcoin. We're holding fairly steady. That's a good thing. The stock price, hey, look, it's taking a breather. I've said this before, I'll say it again. If the stock market wants to, for reasons that are unbeknownst to either you or me, reprice the stock to $2 a share, well, then you can guess what I'll be doing. I'll leave it to your imagination. Because absent there being something fundamentally that has changed either with the Bitcoin market, with hash prices, or with the business itself, we're already at a ridiculously, from my perspective, a ridiculously pathetic valuation, to the extent the market decides, hey man, let's make it even worse. Let's go back to $2 a share, $3 a share. Yeah, you can kind of guess what I'll be probably doing, right? So anyway, not investment advice, right? Do your own due diligence. I've sometimes debated whether or not I should just have like disclaimers after every sentence. And I say to myself, man, how insulting that would be to you, right? If I were to, like, every third word, hey, this is not investment advice. Hey, do your own homework. Hey, blah, 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 blah. I mean, dude, at what point does this cease to be a conversation? And does it turn into a bunch of legalese that, I might as well just have a robot read to you, right? So with all of that said, my friend, let's be positive, let's be great, and we'll see each other again tomorrow.